We are live, Little Metal Fox's studio. Hello, I'm Jennifer Stenhouse from
Hi.
Little Metal Foxes.
And I'm Julia Lowther, also from Little Metal Foxes.
Hi, everybody. Hello. And, oh, Joyce. Hi, how are you? Miss you. Mwah, mwah, mwah. And, oh my gosh. Hello. Oh my gosh. Smart Jaw. So good to see you. Hello. Are going live today with our tool talk, and we are in Seattle, Washington. For those of you that don't know, oh, hold on.
How's that? Nope.
Julie's
Not gonna work.
Did you do it? There we go.
I'm trying.
I think so. I think we got it. So, yes. So today's tool tip.
Maybe not.
Is going to be about Sharpies. Today's tool tip is about Sharpies. So, so yeah, we had an idea, but it's not going to work. So anyway, what we're going to do is we will just show you when the time comes. But yes, there we go. Hello, we're here. So
we wanted to try to, show you a little bit of what our classes are like by having the second person be the feed from my phone so that you could see us actually doing something and too much feedback.
Instagram's a little limiting. So anyway, so what we're going to do is actually show you some of the stuff. But the couple of weeks ago, Julie and I got into the great Sharpie debate about what we can do with Sharpies. And
it wasn't a debate; it was more of a list.
It was a dueling Sharpie thing.
Sharpies.
So, so we wanted to make sure that we sort of got back to that and talked a little bit more about it, because it is sort of a go-to tool for so many people in their studio, and we wanted to talk about that a little bit more because it's so important. And Julia is, after all, the Sharpie Queen.
I don't know if you can read this. It says Julia, Sharpie Queen.
Yes. So, so yes, Julia has quite the Sharpie collection,
which were gifts from students who made me the sign that says Sharpie Queen.
Sharpie Queen. So, but one of the things that we had talked about 2 weeks ago and wanted to get back to is some of the things we actually use the Sharpies for, because they're really essential in a jewelry studio, and it's not a tool that you would normally be like, tool tip, Sharpie. So, but we did want to talk about it a little bit. Hi, Kathleen. And talk about some of the things that we actually use them for. Of course, drawing is one great thing. Of course, everybody's sort of drawing or marking things with Sharpies. And it's a way to sort of make a mark. But there are ways to use Sharpies to make things even more accurate, and to be able to, gauge your solder flow, and to be able to make sure that you're being more precise in a way. So there are all kinds of ways that you can do that, and we wanted to talk to you about that. One of my favorite things that I use the Sharpie for, and I'm usually using this Sharpie, and not this particular one, but this size Sharpie.
The ultra fine.
Yeah.
Not just fine, ultra fine.
Ultra fine. So the fine and ultra fine have this size end on them, which for me is the perfect size for making an earring hook. So a lot of times I'm making my earring hooks on that. Julia, however,
I like the fatter ones, the fatter Sharpie, which is the fine point Sharpie, which is really not that fine a point. I mean, let's be honest, especially not in the scale that we're working. But this part is perfect. Well, these are different kind of hook earrings, but they're perfect for making the hook for my hook earrings, because I like my hooks to be a little bit bigger.
Yeah. So the inside diameter of my hooks is 9 millimeters, and the inside diameter on Julia's hooks
is closer to 12.
Yeah.
It's about 12 millimeters.
So just depending on, it's a great mandrel for making for making chain, for making earring hooks, for making all kinds of stuff. So just for that alone, it's great.
Yes.
But a friend of mine that does some of the most beautiful bezels you've ever seen, this beautiful professional finished bezel, Tori Herford, and she is an amazing metalsmith here in Seattle, and does these amazing bezels, and they are absolutely flawless every time. And I was like, what are you putting your bezels down with? Because it's so smooth and so perfect. And she was like, a Sharpie. It's like, what? And so she actually uses the end of the Sharpie and uses it as a bezel punch and just
because it's flat. It's a
yeah,
little bit flat and it's a little bit recessed.
and it's soft.
And it's plastic. It's a hard plastic, but it's softer than the metal.
Yeah, and so she uses that to
And
actually.
she hammers. She hammers on the other end, right?
Yep, yep. So she's actually like hammering down her bezel with the Sharpie. So it's kind of crazy,
As
but
a punch. Sharpie is a punch.
a Sharpie punch. Yeah. So so when I go dead, they still work great as a bezel punch and doing kinds of like little pushing and things like that. So great for that. But Julia had another bezel tip that is really good here too.
Yeah, I actually did a drawing. This was what I was going to try to show you guys. So this one here on this side, this is a bezel when it's a solid and rectangular. And if you want to file off just a portion of it so that I should lower this, you can see me a little bit, so that you can get a narrower edge, then you paint Sharpie marker on the whole top edge of the bezel. And then when you're filing away this part, see the dotted line, which is what I'm going to file away. You can file away and you just leave a thin, Jennifer's trying to get up above the paper. You can just leave a thin little band of ink. And if you can still see a thin little band of ink on the edge that you're filing towards, you know you haven't filed your edge completely away. So your bezel is all exactly the same height all the way around. So that works super well.
Yeah, it's an engineering trick that you're using like marking fluid.
Right.
So it works really well to sort of, you can even go into a marked edge like that if you're doing filing and mark it with your scribe or with dividers and then file up to that line and you've got like a perfect edge. So whether you're doing a ring or a bezel or whatever it is, coloring in with like the heavy Sharpie and then marking your mark and then going back over to file up to it or cut up to it makes it that much more accurate. I like using the wide Sharpies for that kind of accurate work if I'm using in conjunction with the dividers and like a needle as a scribe.
Right. You like a needle
really
as a
accurate.
scribe.
I really do. So it allows you to get this really clean, crisp line where any sort of Sharpie or scribe by itself is a little bit hard to see. So, yes, indeed.
Safety first. Corks,
that's right.
Corks on the needle scribes.
Right.
One end is a blunt one, and the other end is a sharp one.
Right.
This is the blunt one. Here's the sharp one. And I just use a regular, I have lots and we should do, well, we did one on scribes, but
yeah. So with the Sharpie marked on there, anytime you scribe through it, that line, and you guys can even see that, there, just marking through it, you can see that edge, and
so much better. Like
and it's
a
just
scribe
really
line is really hard to see it on the metal. It's shiny on shiny.
Right.
If it's shiny on dark,
you can see it. You can see that glint through the darkness.
Through the darkness.
Exactly right.
The dawn. Through the darkness.
That's right. So, and especially if you're using something like dividers that are nice and crisp and you can like draw a parallel line, it works really well. And that thinner line is thinner than you would get with marking it with a regular scribe or with a Sharpie.
Right.
If you're like using a ruler and a Sharpie to mark your line, the line's going to be 1 millimeter wide.
Which can be useful.
It can be, but a lot of times, a millimeter play when you're working with something that's
not good.
You're working with something that you need an exact fit is just, it's too big a line to really get an accurate line. So it works great for that.
But Helen Driggs from Lapidary Journal, Jewelry Artist, she loves the ultra fine point Sharpies because the thickness of the tip is almost exactly 1 millimeter, which is like exactly the size that she wants. Like I think if it's 14 gauge or something, when she's making rivets, she'll draw around the rivet with the Sharpie marker and then cut off right at the top of the line so she knows exactly how high she wants to make the rivet. So I thought that was a kind of cute thing.
Yeah, cool. What else do we have? We had several tips on Sharpies.
Also for bezels. Peppy tools. If you're trying to get your ring shank exactly in the middle of your bezel and you want it lined up, you can use the oval templates. You can mark north, south, east, west on your bezel and then mark those lines with Sharpie marker because you can see the Sharpie marker even through paste flux or any other flux. And the Sharpie marker will burn off, but it will allow you to do alignment. So you can align your shank exactly where you want it. Right?
Yeah.
Because once you've put the flux on, you think you've got it lined up. You think you have.
And
9 times out of 10, you don't.
Yeah. So, and that brings up another good point with the Sharpie, because I've had people, when you're trying to line something up and you put the flux on it and you can't see where the line is. If you've got your seam really close and tight, it's really hard to see where your seam
where am I
is.
putting where should I put the solder?
So if you can put your Sharpie line on either side of your seam, you've suddenly got your center. So you can see the seam in the center of your two Sharpie marks, and that way you can kind of aim for the middle and allow you, that gives you some room to kind of put your solder right in the middle of those two marks, and you know where your seam is. And the nice thing about the Sharpie marker, if you're doing annealing, it also is a great heat indicator. So as it burns off, the carbon, and this only works with the black Sharpies, but the carbon that's in the ink of the black Sharpie burns off at almost exactly the same temperature that your silver anneals. And so for fine silver, it's really helpful because it doesn't change color the way that sterling does. So as it burns off, you know that you're reaching the annealing temperature of your silver. So
it's good for sterling too, so that you don't overheat it. Right?
Exactly.
And so that if you're annealing a largish piece, you can kind of scribble over the whole surface of it, and then you can be sure that you didn't get any cold spots, right? In pieces that you annealed everything around it and you missed this one section over here. Yeah.
And for if you've got a coil of fine silver wire, you can scribble all over, just make marks all over the fine silver wire. So if you're doing filigree or making chain, you can heat the coil really evenly and not overheat it, which would fuse it all together.
It can be pretty, but not
or it's all recyclable.
Thank God.
But it also allows you to see that you've heated it up to temperature as well. So that is a really a good one. Where's our list? We have a list of. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, marking rivets, marking center. I think we got them all. We did.
Mandrel, bezel punch.
Yeah.
Bezel marking the edge.
What else
drawing.
Are you using? Drawing. Yeah, we said drawing.
So important for drawing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, tell us what you're using your Sharpies for in the jewelry studio. But they're so good for so many things. And again, I know another thing that you use your Sharpie for.
Yes.
Is marking your solder.
That's right. See, I use it for so many things I forget. So I use...
Great. This is a great tip.
This is a great tip.
Pay attention.
Pay attention. So I use black, blue, and red. So blue is cool, so that's easy solder. Red is hot, so that's hard solder, and medium is black, so it's in the middle. And I get the really wide Sharpies, even bigger than this size, and I will paint both sides of the sheet solder in with this color to indicate what hardness it is. This will do two things for you. One, it keeps the solder clean, because solder will tarnish. It's got some sterling silver. It's silver, so it will tarnish. And if it's tarnished, it doesn't flow as easily, so it keeps it clean.
This is alcohol based,
and it will burn off before it does anything. But two, if you have a little chip of red solder on your board somewhere, it's hard. And if you have a little chip of blue solder on your board, it's easy.
Right. Kathleen agrees.
If you didn't have your solder marked, you wouldn't know
which one's which. It would all look like little chips.
And you just have to throw it away at that point, because you can't figure it out.
Right.
And I'm cheap. Well, I'm,
You're thrifty.
I'm thrifty. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. I'm thrifty, and I don't want to waste anything, even one tiny chip of solder. Though, speaking of solder, Jennifer has a really good chip with solder. You want to roll it out thinner, the sheet solder.
Yeah, I usually do. Yeah.
So roll it out thinner.
Yeah.
Clean it really well. Get all the grease off of it, because the rolling mill usually has grease. So get it really clean, then paint it with Sharpie. Because if you paint it with Sharpie and then you roll it, it's going to stretch the Sharpie out. I mean, you can always repaint it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is about the rolling mill is it's going to impregnate oil into the metal. So you do want to make sure you clean it really well before you use the Sharpie. And the Sharpie is going to be another way to just
keep it clean.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've forgotten about I use them for so many things. And this is why my students were like, "You're the Sharpie queen." Because I don't remember what the class was I was teaching, but I was using it a lot. And I'll share this tip with you again. This is one of my favorite tips. This is a favorite too.
Somebody would keep stealing my black Sharpie, right? And you know who you are. You're out there, I think. So, your black Sharpie. And you have people that would come into your studio and be like, oh, and suddenly your black Sharpie's gone. And you're like, where did it go? I don't know. So take the cap from your yellow Sharpie, which no one needs, and put it on your black Sharpie. So people are like, oh, yellow. I don't need yellow. And then you're like, put a yellow cap on your black
brilliant.
Sharpie.
It's like solving a problem without putting a little, she's not putting
Right.
a note on the Sharpie that says, don't touch
steal
this.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not, it's
Yeah.
just, it's like solving the problem at the source. But,
Yeah.
but it's so elegant. It's
And
such
if
an
you
elegant
and if you just switch the caps completely, people will be, completely confused why there is a yellow cap on your black Sharpie and a black cap on your yellow Sharpie, and they'll leave your Sharpies alone forever. But they'll be like, the minute they pull the yellow out, they'll stick it right back in, so it stays fresh forever because they won't even open it. So, yes, that's my favorite Sharpie tip. And yeah, so absolutely. So yeah, marking your stuff, marking all your drawers and clothes and underwear for camp, and
yeah.
all those things for Sharpies. But yeah, but for accuracy and for identification and are the things that I love about it most. And annealing. That's
and the fact that you can have marks on your metal, you can make a mark on your metal that is not going to in any way inhibit or impact your soldering. So you can have as many marks as you want in Sharpie and it'll burn off.
Right.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
So,
I've had students ask me, it's like, oh, won't it interfere with the solder? Nope, it burns off before the solder temperature, and it's alcohol and carbon, and metal loves carbon, so it works actually really well. But as an anti-flux, it does not work as well. No. So
another use for Sharpies.
No, tell me.
Etching resist.
Yes.
So if you're doing something like a ferric chloride etching with chemical etching, it actually works quite well. Again, I think the darker ones, like the black or blue,
definitely
are better for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it works as an etching resist.
Yeah.
I'm gonna remember 10 more when we get off.
Sure. And I'm sure everybody out there is gonna be like, oh, so and so. Yeah. So definitely comment. Definitely comment because we do appreciate any tips on things like that because it's helpful to everybody. Yes. So yeah,
we want to learn yet more.
Grow as a community, and share information. That's always good. So yeah, tell us what your Sharpie tips are for your jewelry studio and your solutions and doing things like that. So it's always helpful to have a flock of Sharpies.
A flock of Sharpies.
Yeah, that's the technical term for a group of Sharpies.
Okay, it's a flock, apparently.
Yeah. What else would it be called? Anyway.
A rainbow?
A rainbow of Sharpies. Maybe a militia of Sharpies.
A militia? Why a militia?
I don't know. A flotilla.
A flotilla. I like flotilla.
A flotilla of Sharpies.
Flotilla of Sharpies.
That's right. Yeah. But we've got, besides all the cool tips and things that we've got for you guys, we've got awesome classes coming up. And we just added another couple. So there's some good ones coming up.
Yes. We just added solder inlay yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's already got people signing up. So
yes.
Yeah.
It's good. I'm real excited about the solder inlay. So a lot of times you want to add gold as an accent and add a little color and get a little pop in there on your work, and really make some of the like rolling mill textures pop, or etched features, or stamped features, really have some character to them. So you can actually do like an inlay using different kinds of solder to create different kinds of effects. So that's what that class is going to be about.
Jennifer's teaching it.
Yeah.
The samples are really cool. I did contribute to the samples because I gave her some etched stuff to work with.
Yeah. So if you have some etched images or roller mill images and textures that you want to bring to the workshop, that's going to be in August. So we're pretty excited about that. It's on a Saturday. Also, too, I have to say, Julie and I and Helen all sat in on Jan Smith, Canadian enamelist artist, this weekend.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Oh my God. She's so awesome. So
I learned so much.
Are interested at all in learning anything about enameling, she is really wonderful. And she's smart and organized and talented and inspiring and all the things that we all strive to be. She's a great artist, and
she's a great draftswoman. She does a lot of drawings, and like that little Columbine.
Starting out in drawing and printmaking as well. Yeah,
just like you. So she's just her line sense is really beautiful, and she's super organized, and she knows so much. And in the conversation in the class, she was talking about all these other artists. Elizabeth Terrell and Sarah Perkins and Linda Darty and people,
Harlan Butt
Harlan Butt and
what is it,
what is it, Orly Guillaume, I don't know her last name. How to say her last name, but I mean, she knows, she's taken classes from
Linda Darty.
all the other greats, and she knows them, and she knows, like, she's like, oh, Sarah Perkins does this with her thing, and Linda Darty does the, Linda Darty uses this way because she's doing cloisonne.
And she's part of the Enamelist Society, and she's actually going to be giving a talk for the Enamelist Society this summer at their convention, their symposium. But she's amazing and organized, and did the workshop on sort of setting up a studio for enameling and things that you would need and want to have. And she'll go over some of that again in the introductory enamels, mark making through
what is it? It's introductory enamel images through stencil and mark making. So she will talk about lots of different ways to get, you're not just enameling a solid color or mixing enamels to kind of get a painterly thing. You can get very discrete lines, and she'll talk about lots of different ways that you can do that.
So talking about mark making and stencils and doing it as an introduction to enamels at the same time, which is really cool because it gives you more than just like red or blue or red and blue or whatever, but talking about the benefit of using different kinds of enamels and what kinds of marks they'll make and how to use stencils. And so lots of information, and it's 2 consecutive weekends in August.
Right. So it's Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., 2 consecutive weekends. So it starts on August the 7th and 8th, that weekend. And then the following weekend, the 14th and 15th, it's the same 10 to 1. So it's the same time on all 4 days.
Yeah. But it's nice because it gives you time to sort of experiment and play and try and work stuff out and see what it'll do.
And ask questions on week 2.
Yeah, exactly right. It's like, well, I completely failed. What went wrong? So,
and she will tell you, change only one thing every time.
Right, exactly, yeah.
You can't figure out what went wrong.
Yeah. Well, this weekend, too, we have flush setting. And I'm going to be doing flush setting, totally demystifying flush setting in 5 steps. So if you have been doing flush setting and you're trying to do flush setting and you're like, I don't get it, I can't get it to stay, it's magic, I don't get it, I can show you how to do it in 5 steps. And you can do it every time. And it makes it real simple and completely demystifies it. So if you or someone you know is like, I want to add flush setting and I just don't know how, it's great. You don't need to solder anything. It's awesome. Oh yeah, Joyce has been in there. Yeah, hey Joyce, thank you. But yeah, it makes it really easy to
add the color of stones,
add your stone
and sparkle of stones without soldering any bezels or any settings.
Exactly.
And there's no, like cutting prongs or any of that nonsense. Right. So, nothing sticking up to catch on anything.
It's so easy, and it's ridiculously easy. So once you learn how to, and round stones, we're talking round stones at the moment, but once you figure out how to do it and what it does, it actually is really very easy to do. And actually, the smaller the stone, the easier it is to do. And a lot of people are like,
not the case for any other setting.
It's so tiny. How did they get it in there? And it's like, love, they just get it right in. But yeah, it's really easy to do and demystify it in 5 steps. So that's this weekend, and I can teach how to do it in 5 steps in 3 hours. So, let's do that.
Boom.
Also, coming up, hollow box rings.
Yes, hollow box rings.
Awesome.
These, I love making these.
I like making them too, but she is great at it.
I love making these. This is one I made last year. I made this last year for the ring challenge thing that Dana did for Adenica Design. It has a little tree on it. As a bonus, if you want to know how I did the tree, come to the class and I will explain how I made this wonderful tree.
Oh, somebody's coming.
And then this is the one that's in the picture, which is the little bats. I love that Jennifer had the little bats flying out of the ring. I love it. And I have little stars around the edge.
There you go.
So,
yeah.
And then this one is this one says, a good egg, slightly cracked. You have to have a hole in your box ring. Yeah. And so the crack in this one is the hole. So yeah.
Look at that guy.
I know. I love making these. They're a lot of fun, and they're super lightweight. You can have this big statement ring, this big huge thing, and it doesn't weigh anything.
Well, and the cool thing about the box rings too is that they can be used for so many different things.
Yes, you don't have to just make.
They don't have to be. You
can make a lot of things.
It's basically working with containers and perfecting your soldering and working in ways that basically allows you to create hollow forms on a small scale. Right. And learning how to do that is really essential in jewelry for a lot of different things, whether you're making lockets, boxes, hollow forms, containers of any kind, beads. Yeah. So, being able to do, this with fluidity and grace is really kind of important. So it's usually an intro to jewelry skill, or intro to intermediate level, and being able to do it really well takes some practice. But yeah, awesome. We love the box rings. What else is coming up?
Let's see. Basic engraving with the Lion Punch Forge.
Oh, that's right.
That again, and
that's right. And we're going to be doing a giveaway for the Lion Punch Forge class. Actually, what happened is David at Peppy Tools, thank you, Peppy Tools, bought one of the classes for the Lion Punch Forge, and we're going to be giving that away with Chris Anderson, who is at Lion Punch Forge. So
he is Lion Punch Forge.
He is Lion Punch Forge. He is the inventor of the Lion Punch Forge graver that is available from Peppy Tools. And so they are sort of ganged up and are going to give away a class, and that is going to be coming up soon. So keep your eyes open for that giveaway, because that's going to be a big deal.
So is it going to be given by Pepe Tools or by Lion Punch
Chris?
Forge?
By Chris, yeah.
So if you're not already following Lion Punch Forge, follow Lion Punch Forge
and Peppy Tools
and us. I hope you're following us already. If you're not, for God's sake,
what the heck?
Us. And then you'll find out when it's going to happen.
Yeah. So we're going to be doing that actually very soon.
And then you have a whole series of stone setting classes. You're going to do a whole Wednesday evening series of stone setting classes. So
tell me about your Studio Spark.
Oh,
what is the Studio Spark?
What is the Studio Spark? So I am doing for the month of August. You don't have to get out of the picture.
Oh, I was just leaning to see you.
To see me. Okay. So August is sort of the doldrums of the summer. It's kind of the downtime. Things are hot, and it's hard to get your spark going in the studio. And I have a hard time getting my butt into the studio. So I'm doing this as much for me as for other people. The idea is that it's basically like a little prompt that you're going to get every weekday in August. Well, the first 4 weeks in August, you'll get a little prompt that will give you something to just go into the studio and experiment with, to just jumpstart you.
Yeah.
So
Adele, you had originally done this because this is a writer's thing too.
It's a writer's thing to do morning pages, or to do like a writing prompt where you just write a paragraph about a kaleidoscope and a pear.
And a lot of artists that draw and paint will do that with their sketchbook.
Right.
They'll get up in the morning first thing and go and draw something. They'll spend 15,
10 minutes,
20 minutes.
It's not supposed to take a long time. So I made a sample spark for the, if you go on the website, you can see there's a picture of the sample spark, and the sample spark says, make jump rings, cut them into pieces, solder the pieces together to create patterns. And then there's some photographs on the website of some of the things that I did, because I did this. And I learned some interesting things about doing this, and about, what I liked and what I didn't like about doing this. And so what we'll do is we'll talk about some of that stuff. What were some of the challenges? What were some things you liked about the spark? What, there were aspects of this that I was like, I hate this. Why did I do this?
But the cool thing is you can use scrap, you can use anything you want, but it just sort of like gets you going, gets you motivated in there, and you get to practice something, and maybe try something new and think of something in a different way. And then on Fridays, Wednesdays and Fridays.
So you're going to get 5 sparks a week, but on Wednesdays and Fridays, we will actually have a 1-hour meeting in the morning at 9:00 Pacific time to kind of check in about how you're liking them and what you would like to do more with.
Kind of an accountability buddy.
Accountability buddy. So we're sort of Studio Sparks and accountability buddy all rolled into one.
Yeah.
And on Fridays, the spark will be more of a design prompt, a little more involved, so that it'll give you something to kind of ruminate on and think about and work on over the weekend. And then we can kind of check in on that on Wednesday too, and then wash, rinse, repeat. So we'll do that for 4 weeks in August. Our hope is that we'll be doing a Studio Spark thing like regularly. This is kind of my test balloon to see how people like it, and see if it works.
Well, because so many people are, they take classes, and it's hard to, once you've taken the class, to get back into the studio and practice that stuff. And
practice.
It really helps a lot.
It's like yoga, you know, you have to have a daily practice, or meditation, you have a daily practice. You should have a daily studio practice. And
Absolutely.
so I'm trying to help jumpstart the daily studio practice.
And sometimes
For
just being
myself
able,
as well as others.
just sometimes, you know, once, twice a week, being able to sit down and say, yeah, this week I'm going to make a blank, or make a band ring or a spinner ring or a bracelet or whatever it is. And that way the following week, when you come back, she can be like, how'd your bracelet go? And you're like, oh, I didn't do it. And it's like, that's okay.
That's okay.
Well, what do you need to do? And so it's a way to encourage you.
Or I did it and I loved how
you,
this did, but I didn't like this thing.
So
and then
cheer and applaud, or be like, let's help. So anyway,
that's what we're here for.
But yeah, Studio Sparks is great.
Yeah.
And so
I'm really looking forward to that. I think it will help me kind of get back into the studio more in August, which I tend to not do as much because there's so much else outside that I want to do. I know, it's so nice outside.
Like all of the West Coast on fire.
All of the West Coast is going to be on fire. You might want to be inside.
Absolutely.
In August.
Yeah,
we'll do that.
But yeah, the stone setting series is going to be on Wednesday evenings. So there's
6 to 8:30.
A lot of stone settings that we're going to sort of work our way through, and just being able to do some of those. I know a lot of people have kind of had that, have had basic studio stone setting, but it's alternative stone setting. It's a way to sort of, you know, set things that you have found or that you've made or that you love and are in your jewelry box, and you're like, it's a piece of junk, but I love it. You know, I found it on a beach. What do I do with it? So I really love being able to collect those, you know, interesting pieces and set them like stones and make them a precious thing because you're treating them as such.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly.
So anyway, but
if you have something that you've always wanted to have in a piece of jewelry and you can't figure out how to do it, take a class with Jennifer. She will solve your problem. Right? I mean, this woman is a genius when it comes to figuring out how to set different weird shapes of things. She's a lot of experience.
Grab it.
And
you set it in this thing. So yeah, we're going to be doing that. But there's a lot of cool stuff coming up. And so just, keep an eye out and see what's coming up. We usually try and post it on the our Instagram, on the stories, and on our post. So follow along. And we'll be doing that. And again, keep an eye out for the Lion Punch Forge giveaway that's coming up with Chris Anderson at Lion Punch Forge, and thanks to Peppy Tools. So
thank you.
Yes, love Peppy. And so we'll see what we can do and get that out there. We did do a giveaway during one of our tool talks recently, where we were talking about scribes, and with Chris Anderson from Lion Punch Forge, and he gave away one of his fabulous scribes to someone. And stay tuned for more like little fun secret giveaways during tool talks, because
you never know. You have to tune in to find out what cool stuff is going on.
So we gave it away right then. He had a trivia question, and the first person that answered it won. So
nice.
So we'll be doing more of that, I think, because that was really a lot of fun. So tune in for that. And yes, and again, send us your tips, what you use your Sharpies for. That's all of today's tool tip and what's going on here at Little Metal Foxes. So
here together
in the same space.
In the same space.
And by the way, we would like to say good luck to all the people that are in the UK and London. I know that they just got a downpour of rain.
They got a month of rain in 90 minutes.
90 minutes.
90 minutes, an hour and a half, people.
And they had a foot of rain in some places, and it was just torrential downpour. So for those of you that are in London, we're sending love, and we hope that your studios are safe, and that you're safe, and your pets and animals are safe, and that everybody's okay. And we know this because our dear friend Helen is over there, and we love her lots. And
we do. And they just moved into their apartment. I think they didn't even have all their stuff. They just gotten a couch, and it's completely
flooded. Yeah, they have to find a new apartment. So so if you're in London, if you're in the UK,
and her husband are fine.
Be careful. We're thinking of you. But in the comments, do tell us your Sharpie tips and tricks, and we'll see you next Tuesday on Tool Tips. Bye.